What would you say if I told you there is a great tool to manage your code repository? A tool which is flexible, lets you rearrange and edit your history. And if you make a mistake, it allows you to undo the problem without losing your work. And you would say, yeah, of course, we use this tool every day. It's called Git. And if I would ask you this question in 2010, you would say, yes, of course, we use it every day. It's called SVN. Nobody is using SVN today, though, because Git is much nicer tool. And what if I told you that we are at the point of time as we were in 2010, where we don't have to use Git anymore, because there is a much modern alternative available called Jujutsu or JJ. Sounds interesting? I'm Patrick. You're watching Brain Picks by Brains and Beards. So what is JJ? JJ is a version control system, something like Git, but with much nicer UX. It was born as a hobby project of Martin von Zweigbergk at Google. Today, the development is driven by 7 developers, maintainers, and around 200 other contributors. Martin and the team made sure this is not a typical Google project which can get sunset or thrown away. And they have a special policy which says that only 1/3 of all maintainers can be paid by the same company. And in the matter of fact, in this year, there was a problem. One maintainer had to be replaced by some other person because this policy was violated. So it looks like it works. The basic commands of JJ are easy to understand, and they allow you to do the same things as you would do them in Git, but JJ doesn't stop here. They added many amazing features like undo, just to follow up with features and workflows which just feel like magic. And one of the greatest things of JJ is that you can use JJ and Git in the same repository at the same time. So you can mix and match. If you don't know how to do something in JJ, you can, for now, still use Git. And just as you learn, just replace the old habits with the new ones. Today, I don't want to talk about basics. I want to talk about concepts. I'm here to sell you the tool which I enjoy using so much. So I will bring the big guns, the greatest features, the fun parts. So stay to the end because it's gonna be from the most boring thing to the most magic thing in JJ. Stay tuned. So what is our game plan for today? We have to conquer 4 levels. Level 1, mutable draft mode. Level 2, undo, snapshots, and ops log. Level 3, conflicts handling. And then we're gonna meet the final boss. Please remember, today we are just showing you an overview of some cool concepts without explaining in depth how each JJ command works. A tutorial for the beginners and a deep dive will come in the future episodes. Here is just a showcase so you can decide for yourself if you want to give the JJ a shot or not. Mutable draft mode means that nothing is carved in stone. Let me explain. In Git, if you want to make a change to a commit and you have to, amend something or rebase something, but that what it means is going to change the hash, the identifier of the commit. In JJ, the identifier is called change ID and it stays the same. Doesn't matter what you're going to do with it. That makes it very trivial to split commits or combine them together or do edits on them. But what's the big deal here? The thing is that if you are a person who knows from the get-go how you're going to implement the thing and even can plan all the commits ahead, then, mad respect, but I cannot do something like that. What I need to do is to play with the implementation. I want to try out a few things before I commit to one way to solve the damn thing, basically. And I like to go through my commits, polish them, rearrange them into a meaningful history. Yes, of course, you can do the same thing in the Git, but good luck to, doing this and actually enjoying the process. Let's see how we can do this in JJ. Let's go into level 1 and see how we can manage the commit history in a nice and fun way. First, we need to initialize our JJ repository and we're gonna use Git as a backend. That means we have right now nothing inside. There is place for us to work on. It's empty and has no description, but it has a change ID. And this change ID is important. because we're gonna demonstrate here that this change ID is not gonna change, even if we're gonna mess with this commit in several different ways. And maybe you don't know much about JJ. The important thing is that this is the change ID identifier, and the K is highlighted because it's meaningful enough to distinguish this commit from the others. So I don't have to write the whole string. I can just use the letter K here. Okay, let's add quickly first feature, and we're gonna add it to app.txt. And because we are so fast, let's add the second one as well. Second, bam. And if we're gonna see what we created so far, we still have no description, but we have some content. We added new file, and inside of this file, we have 2 lines. So we're good here. Let's commit this and call it implemented first and second feature. What it does is first it gives the name to the change we were at before and creates a new space for us to work on. We were very fast, so like the product manager asked us to add a new feature. So we are doing third feature, and we're gonna do it in the different place. Let's say like screens txt, right? And we're gonna do JJ commit implemented third commit. That's nice. We work very fast, but the problem is that I don't like this history because there are like 2 things here mixed up. I would like to have change log, but actually the change log I don't want to add it here because I want to have it combined with the commit, let's say. But in JJ this is not a problem. So let's add the change log first. Let's call it first feature, and we put it to the change log. Okay, so the change log is here, and we want it to be here. So let's use this string, which stayed the same so far, and that's very easy because we can do the squash. We don't have to specify what we want to squash because that means that we are at this specific commit right now, and this is what we want to squash, but we want to squash into KM. And what this did, it moved what we had here into this commit. And the identifier still is the same. Nothing changed. But we have the second feature here, which we don't like. But that's as well no problem because we can split it. We specify the revision we want to split. It's K. We want to take the first feature and the change log. So we're going to say it's implemented first feature, right? And that's the second commit, which gets split off the first one, and it's gonna be implement the second feature. JJ log -p. We have this change, which has the first feature and the change log, and it's still K. Nothing changed. That's amazing. The second commit was inserted between this one and the other one which we had in the past, which has a new second feature added. So the SO was injected between K and is a SN. And if we go up, look, it's still SN and K, even if we put something in the middle. And that's amazing. This is like a great way to work, and it's very enjoyable, and there are many of these basic tools in JJ which you can use to shape the history, so it's exactly as you want to have it. Level 1 down, free to go. Level 2, here we go. And this one is very cool. This one is amazing. One of the best things a tool can have is some sort of guardrails, something which holds your hand while you're discovering what the tool can do. Some tools have built-in safety questions, which double-checking if you are really doing what you wanted to do and not commencing some fatal typos. For example, if you want to remove directory, you write rm name of the directory, and you'll be asked if that's really what you want to do. One problem though, if you say yes, your files are gone forever, which is not nice. Much nicer would be to have like unlimited undo, which is precisely what JJ implemented. You can undo all your commands and mistakes, which is amazing for learning because, you can try out things and see how it works or how the new command is working. I don't know, but I don't mind. I just, run it and see if I like the result. And if I don't, I just write JJ undo and, live a happy life. Okay, so we are here in our level 2 folder. Let's create a few commits. First up, gonna be the first one. Let's commit it first. And second one, second change. Let's commit it as well. Second, maybe a third one. Third one, done. JJ log. We have 3 commits, first, second, and third. And then let's see how JJ undo would revert that work. We can just do and JJ undo. What it did, it removed the commit. So we have first, second, there is no third, but the file is still here. The change of the file, sorry. If you're gonna JJ div, there is a change. If you wanna undo this, we just gonna continue with undoing. Here, we have first, second, and the change is gone. If you don't like this, you can go back with JJ redo and JJ redo. And we are here where we started, and basically. Of course, you don't have to write this undo sequentially, like undo, 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 undo. We have something which is called oplog, which contains all the changes which happened in the repository. And of course, you can jump to any of these changes directly or pick some of the things inside of the changes and bring it to the current point of the repository history. So what we have here, we see that we done a redo, undo, undo, and then there is a commit, and then it is something like called snapshot working copy. That's interesting. What's a snapshot working copy, right? Let's see what's inside just by appending -p. And then you can see here is like the redo, what happened. You see the div as well. And if we scroll to snapshot, here, like for example, there is no commit, there is no redo, nothing, but there is still a div. And this is like super interesting thing and super helpful thing because JJ tracks as well changes to the files without a commit, which means that you not only can undo commands, but as well your typing mistakes, let's say. And we can visualize it. Let's see if we have enough space. So let's run this watch. So basically what it does is just shows changes to a file. And if we go and bring our NVM, let's go here and then remove this line, save, bam, we have a change here. So you change again, bam, another entry. And this way you can, as I said, work with JJ to undo some mistakes in your commits, but as well, what I think where this can be very productive is when you work with AI, with agent, which does a lot of changes in your repository. And usually, the agent would do a git commit, and then if you want to undo some of the changes of the agent, you would undo the git commit command. But here is a little bit even better and more granular because everything they're gonna change, you're gonna see in the change log and you can react to it. You can bring something back and so on because, probably never happened in the history where agent would, delete all the stuff and then lie about it, right? That's one of the most important parts of JJ, the ability to use undo and learn from it. What's next? Okay, level 3, the last level before the final boss, it's about conflicts. So if the changing of the Git history rubs you the wrong way due to conflicts in files, you don't have to fear because JJ is here to save the world. That was horrible. Okay, in Git, the conflicts are something like stop signs. So it means you have to stop your work. You have to handle them here and right now, right? When, on the other hand, in JJ, they are like first-class objects, which means that there are much nicer way to deal with them. You can deal with the conflict at the chosen time, or even you can do things like partial resolving and then move on with the rest of the conflict. And then on some point where you have all the things which you needed, you can resolve everything and continue working. Another thing about that is that because the conflicts are part of the commits, once you resolve them, they stay resolved. Where in Git, you find yourself fighting the same, fights again. Okay, let's see how the conflicts looks in the examples. Okay, we are in the level 3, empty repository again. Let's create some conflicts. We're gonna start with fruit lists. Okay, it's gonna be apple, grape, and orange. And let's commit it. That's gonna be our base list. Okay. And let's create a change. Starting from the base, and it's gonna be the fruit list, and we're gonna change the grape to grapefruit. Commit -m. That's gonna be our A change, right? Changing to grapefruit. And we want to have a conflicting change. So we're gonna start again from the T. JJ new T, open and vim, and we're gonna say here, let's uppercase the first letter. Okay, so it's gonna be commit -m, change, like a B, uppercase, and this is our base. And from the base we have two branches. One is the A and one is the B branch. And let's see what's inside of those changes. The base has the list of fruit. Here we change the grapefruit, and here we change the first letter. Okay, so let's create a conflict. We're gonna merge the A and B change together. And then, so we're gonna say new R and new Q. Let's see how it looks like. So we have a new commit, merging the Q and R, and we have a conflict inside of the fruit. Let's give it a name, merge with conflicts. Just, we don't have to add it, but it's gonna be just easier here for following it. Okay, so just to prove the concept that we don't have to stop when we have conflicts, we're gonna just add a new change on top, and we call it new change on top of the conflict. And you are amazing change. So we still have a conflict, but we can continue working. And, we can as well do some crazy things, like we can rebase this commit into our history. So we're gonna take the commit which we just wrote, was this one, right? And we're gonna put it, for example, on this one. So it's gonna be on R. And if I could type, that would work. So what we see here, we have a base which goes into our R, and on top of our R, we put our change, right? Okay, but we cannot take these conflicts and leave it forever. We have to resolve it on some point. So let's do it right now. We can ask JJ to resolve list -R and then the change ID. We can ask that give me the files which are conflicted at this point of time, and it tells us it's about the fruit txt which needs to be resolved. Resolve -R fruit txt. You can do it, of course, manually. You can use other applications, like, for example, Kaleidoscope has JJ support, like basic support. You can use whatever. So let's say the change which we want to have, it's gonna be the capitalized ones. Okay, and the conflict is gone. And if we look how the history right now looks like, it tells us that the merge with conflicts was done, and we have the following changes here. The other thing which I want to stress here is that we've done a lot of things to this history, but the change IDs are still the same as they were at the beginning. Amazing. Welcome to the final boss level, the Mega Merge. In Git, you can have a commit which merges two branches. In JJ, you can have one commit which merges multiple branches at the same time. Okay, good, but why would I care? Good question. We lived without that for so long, so what's the big deal? Imagine this. Everybody hates big pull requests, and you have to do a rather big change to your API. So to be a nice citizen, you create 3 branches, one with documentation, one with API changes, and one refactoring needed to bring those changes into your repository. All good, normal stuff, you say. But how do you test those three branches together as integration branch and without merging them permanently together, right? And how do you update this branch with the changes from main? And in Git, that would be like really cumbersome. But in JJ, it's like really nice, resolved, and pretty fun to work with. Let's recreate that what we were talking about. We are implementing a new API. Let's first add some commits in the main. So it's gonna be, this is changes in main. Let's commit it, changes from main. It's gonna be implementation. So add API implementation, commit, adding API, and let's add now the docs, and we're gonna create a branch from main because we don't wanna mix up those changes together, so we can have smaller pull requests. Okay, so let's go from here, and we are not on top of adding API, but in the documentation. So docs, documentation, commit, adding docs. And now again from main we do the refactoring to add our new API implementation. So again from X, and we're gonna do the refactoring. So we're gonna refactor the file which as well exists in here. Refactor. Okay, and commit as refactoring. Okay, so we have three branches going from main. One goes here, one goes there, and the last one goes there. And let's do the mega merge, which is very simply just specifying what you want to bring together. And as you can see, everything goes into one place. Amazing. Let's describe it as a mega merge. Okay, nice. But of course, this is gonna be tested by you, but somebody else, and maybe, very unlikely, of course, very unlikely, they will spot some problems. Let's say we have to change the implementation. Okay, so we're gonna say, instead of going to the, like the history, we're just gonna create a new commit on top. So we are still on top of the mega merge. And we say, okay, the API has to be changed. So we say, we add a new implementation. And now this new implementation lives somewhere here. But actually, we don't want somebody to review all that things together. We want that they review all the branches separately. So we need this change to be actually here. And there are, some manual ways to put those changes there, like rebasing and so on. But why do something manual where you can use JJ with some magic functionality? The only thing you have to write is this JJ absorb. And what just happened? Oh, maybe like this. And then you can see that the change from what was on top of mega merge is gone, and it was automatically put on here inside of the adding API branch, which is amazing. I like when I don't have to specify everything manually, where the system is smart enough to make it for me. And we can try one more thing. Let's do undo. So the change is still here. What if we would have two things here? Let's see how that would work. So docs, new documentation for the boss level 2. Okay. And so we have now two things changed. And let's do this. Let's absorb two things at the same time. Our JJ log -p. And then the things from implementation went here. and the new documentation to boss level went here. Amazing. Well, of course, sometimes from this you're gonna get conflicts, but you just can resolve them, and the resolving will be propagated back to the merge. So you do it once. Okay, that was nice. That was the best boss level I could imagine for JJ. And that's all for today. That was our short overview of JJ. Let us know in the comments if you are planning to use JJ in the future or you are already using it. We would really like to read about it. And subscribe for future content where we're gonna focus more on day-to-day work with JJ and really explain how each command works. See you. Bye.